Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode of Edge of Wonder. We're at the Cosmic Waves Conference in Hawaii.
Yes.
It's great here.
Amazing.
And we have the privilege of being with Elizabeth Wilcock today, who actually spoke at the conference.
So you spoke about the Sacred Warrior and Ascension,
yes.
Correct? Yes, it was an amazing speech, by the way. Both of us were really blown away.
Totally.
By everything that you talked about. But before we go into what is the Secret Warrior, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are, and oh my gosh, you're a 5-degree, or you have 5 black belts?
Yes.
Like, this is amazing.
She's my hero. And I kind of want her to kick my ass after this video.
Guys do like to try to fight me.
Yeah.
It's okay, I'll wrestle you.
Yeah.
Should-
No, she'd obliterate me. It'd be great.
That'll be fun.
We got to just get it on camera so everyone can see Elizabeth Wilcock take me out.
But yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
And also, I mean, you're David Wilcock's wife. I mean, that's
Probably what-
amazing,
that's
right?
The most interesting thing about me.
Absolutely not. No offense, David.
I know, so yes, I'm David Wilcock's wife, so that's probably how most people will know me. And I also have 5 black belts, so I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been very adventurous and very curious about ancient wisdom and warrior wisdom and shamanic medicines and healing, so that took me into a lot of arenas before I met and married David.
So why don't you, tell us, like, how did you and David meet?
So David and I met officially through a good friend of ours. So one of his best friends, and then one of my really good friends is the same person. Her name was Sun. And she, it was really interesting. She, for some reason, said to me, she said, oh, you should go stay over at David Wilcock's, because she actually had a room in his house. So she's like this amazing hippie chick, right? And like actually had a room in his house.
I mean, her name is Sun.
Her name is Sun.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know what I was doing. I cannot remember why I was in the area. Maybe I was going to the LA airport or something. So she literally gives me his address and just tells me to go, but which is not, not what she should have been doing probably. So she said, oh, he'll be fine with it. So I go to his house, and then I, ring the gate, and he's home. And I said, well, hi, Sun said that, I could go stay in a room tonight. So he's like, okay. He had no idea that I was coming or anything. So anyway, we literally met then at his front door. So that's the first time that he ever saw me. I was knocking on his front door, and there I was.
Really
So that was about 6 years ago, and at the time, we just had a nice conversation and everything. He was very nice and cordial. And it wasn't the right time for us to get together. And so, because we didn't get together until, I think, like 2.5 years ago now. So we knew each other, but we weren't, I didn't follow his work. We weren't close. We knew of each other enough to just that he kind of knew about me and about my life, But I wasn't into all this stuff.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's probably in some ways a relief for him, right? Because he must, it's just being treated like normal and,
Yeah, it was actually one of the requirements for him.
Really?
When he was ready to have his beloved, because there's a time in each one of our lives where we feel that, we're like, you know what, now's the time. So when that time came for him, he thought to himself, well, how am I going to do this? Because I can't go on Match.com, because he's a public figure, I can't just find somebody at a conference, because usually all of those people have like ulterior motives, and so he couldn't just find somebody like that. So he said to himself, he said, well, it's got to be somebody I already know. Who could that be? And then I popped into his mind, because I'd been in his life for 5 years already, and I had never pursued him. I had never tried to access him for his fame or whatever. I had always just, been around, and he knew what I did. So that was a part of the requirement, actually.
Very interesting. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, because he knew I wasn't trying to get something out of him,
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you get from
Yeah, the sacred warrior journey. I mean, 5 black belts. And what you were describing earlier, I mean, how after, you'd basically searched for these lineages of different masters in different practices, many of them Taoist. How many were Taoist?
I have 2 main Taoist masters that I've worked under. One is a grandmaster and one is master grandmaster. So, but Taoist is also really the root of Qigong. Qigong is really the root of martial arts, the real martial arts and Shaolin martial arts. Qigong is the root, and Qigong is a mystical art in and of itself. So the Taoists are really the mystics of the whole Jin lineage, and the Buddhists would be more like kind of akin to Christian or something. So I always was attracted to the mystic much more than any of the more secular type ways. And it all really started because as a child I was already seeing spirits, and I was already having things happen around me that were abnormal, if you will, like telekinesis and stuff like that.
If you will.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I was different already. And all of that led to like an illness, and then I was hospitalized, and then when I came out of that, because I said I had an eating disorder, and it got really, really bad, and they put me in the hospital for that because nobody knew how to deal with that kind of thing. But what I identified was that my soul was sick. And so then I realized I had to figure out how to heal the soul. But then I realized that nobody in Western culture even recognizes that anybody has a soul. So it set me on a search. So who knows how to heal the soul of a person when the soul is broken? And that led me to shamanism, because the shamans actually do have a way to heal the soul that's very effective. And then that actually led to a complete soul healing for me. And when that happened, then I dedicated myself to the mystic path. So that's when I made the very conscious and clear break away from conventional reality and what we would call the matrix to I am definitely going to live outside of the box. I am going to find the real masters of the real lineages of this ancient mystic knowledge, and that's what I'm going to learn. So that sent me on a completely different life path. And that's where I went, deep into the jungles, and I apprenticed shamans, and then I apprenticed masters and grandmasters of the martial arts. And the universe is really beautiful because the universe begins to respond to you based on the sincere quest of the heart. Yes. So whatever, and it really is, it's in your solitary moments alone when you send out this sincere request, like I really need to do this, or I really want to do this, and it's this holy cause, the universe begins to bring all of this magic into your life, and that's what it did for me. And so I ended up, my first husband was a master of the martial arts, and that's how I was able to immerse myself in the lifestyle and the world of the martial arts, and how I earned 5 black belts, and we had 5 schools. So that was a part of my soul dharma, because I believe each one of us has a soul dharma, a kuleana, like we spoke of today, which is a Hawaiian word, which is your soul work to do. It's your responsibility and your joy. We all have something that we've come here to do, and if you keep that quest in your heart, it will happen. So I didn't know that I was on the timeline or the path to meet David, because that's brought me into a different world, a more public world that I didn't really know was going to happen to me. But it's also part of the dharmic timeline. And so I bring this past of having to and really wanting to access this deep ancient mystic knowledge and a world, one for the healing of my soul, because I had to heal, and that's what did it. And then for the cultivation of my spirit, which I feel is a warrior spirit that's very much in tune and in love with this earth and with the sacred. So what I stand for is for the protection of the sacred, and I bring that warrior wisdom from the shamanic lineage and the Taoist lineage and the Shaolin lineage, and everything that I have done, and then I offer that up as my gift to the world.
Yeah, one of the things that I think moved me most about your speech today was when you were saying you were going through all of these things, you had this eating disorder that you didn't know how to fix, and then there was this moment where you actually asked, I guess, the universe to give you your power back. And then it was like, that is actually what changed everything. So I had a very similar experience with depression, and I think a lot of people struggle with these kinds of things going on in their lives, these kinds of addictions, or these kinds of just
well, especially in this community.
In this community,
because
too.
Everyone's very sensitive. They're really like almost empathic, especially with energies and people's emotions. So I think, and a lot of people in this community are also very introverted. So we're so sensitive, and I think because of that, all these different things, like everyone kind of struggles through these various different aspects. Like I was just talking to somebody today who said, wow, I didn't even know that there was other people out there similar to me, and my experiences and being here at this event, at the Cosmic Wave event, meeting all these different people. And I think what you're getting to is like, what would you say to these people? Like, how would you help these people, right? Because we're all kind of we're all like, especially him and I have, all three of us really, we've all had a very similar journey where we experienced something at a young age, and we're just like, it's so different. And like you were saying, there's no way, you can't go to a psychologist and be like, I'm talking with spirits and everything.
They can't fix this.
Yeah, exactly. They can't fix it. And that's what I found out after being hospitalized for like 6 weeks for this eating disorder, which was really a manifestation of my soul break, kind of like a heartbreak, but my soul break being in this dysfunctional world where we're harming nature and we're harming each other, and it's got a violence to it, and I am a very sensitive soul, and that broke me. And so I think that for one, I would say that it's very natural to feel broken in this world, and that's actually a sign that you are sensitive.
Yeah, you get it.
It's an okay thing to be broken. I think you kind of should be broken in this world a little bit, because what we are doing to this world is horrendous, and it's really sacrilege. So if you're not feeling broken, then I would say that you're not really experiencing what's happening right now. So number one, it's to really honor it and to honor the brokenness, because it's sacred. It's a sacred breaking open of your spirit to the heart of the world, really. And so you follow that. You say, what's broken in me? I was depressed as well. I was very depressed, because if you're, killing yourself with bulimia, you're not a joyous, happy person. Mm-hmm. So I struggled with all of that for many, many years. And it led me to my sacred path. So then I would say, find your path of heart, because there's many paths that go up the mountain that lead us to our wholeness, and that lead us to spirit, and lead us to the awareness of what's really happening here. This is a multidimensional world, and we're all multidimensional beings, and those of us that are sensitive are star seeds and wanderers and rainbow warriors. You should be sensitive, and then you should find your path of heart, and then you find your sacred work in the world, and you stay on that path, and that path will bring the healing to you. Find the masters, find the healers. It's out there. You can do it, but it's probably going to take you on the path a little less traveled. It's going to take you away from the matrix and the world of TikTok. So your family might go, well, what are you doing? I don't understand. I wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer, and you say, I have to go do this. So you have to also allow for some non-understanding of the people around you. Not everybody's going to understand what you're doing. It's a sacred path.
Yeah, that was one of the most painful things for me. Actually going through that process caused a lot of my depression, to actually break away from all of the people I had, welcomed in, and then to find myself and then kind of move forward. So I think what you're saying is like really inspirational, I think, for a lot of people.
And then you find another family. So what we're talking about here is a lot of people that have come here to Cosmic Waves are doing that right now. What they're doing is they're awakening to this narrative, and they're feeling it resonate within them. And they're saying, this, I feel truth in this. And so they come out here, and there's a little bit of like, I just kind of like am like breaking off of this matrix reality, and I'm looking for my family, I'm looking for my home. So that's a natural part of the process. And then, you will find people that are experiencing the world like this, that do believe in multi-dimensional realities, that do believe in angels, that do believe in being able to access the spirit world, that believe in miraculous healing, that believe in, that there is this ascension, that can happen for us. And then the science of that, the alchemy of that. This really is the alchemist path, the mystic path, the shamanic path. This path has been walked by many people, and those that walk this path tend to be a little bit outside, or a lot outside, of the well-trodden path, if you will. But that well-trodden path is trotting down our planet. It's breaking our planet, and it's breaking the innocence of the children's fire that lives inside of people. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
The Edge of Wonder presents Cosmic Waves 2019.
That was awesome.
I mean, it is crazy.
Featuring special guest Elizabeth Wilcock.
So another thing is that these people that are feeling a little broken by the matrix, let's say, which is a very healthy response to the world that we're living in, the TikTok reality, if you will. The people that are feeling broken by that, and that are not feeling in alignment with it, that aren't feeling fulfilled working at Starbucks, that aren't feeling fulfilled as an accountant, that aren't, they're like, there's gotta be something more to this. So usually in those people lies a vision. There's a vision of something better and something greater, and that's really to be listened to, because like I was pointing out here, cameraman Dan actually had created this really beautiful scene. You can't see it right now. It was like a world that somebody could easily build. You could easily build that house structure. And so people that see the world different, those visions need to be nurtured, because those are the people that need to build those realities, build those new buildings, build those new school systems, build educational systems, ways of educating the sacred ones, which is what I did. I created the Priestess Path initiation, system, lineages of light, to initiate women like me, who were of this ilk, if you will, because in my school system, nothing touched it, and then when I went to go heal, when I was put into the hospital, nothing touched it. So I said, how is nothing touching me? And it's because nothing was really meeting the soul and really just meeting the beauty of this world. And so a lot of times these sensitive people who are not feeling inspired, and then that's why you get depressed, because you're not being fed.
You can't
it's not
express
inspiring
yourself
you.
in that
There's
way.
no, meat to it. And so, like, one of the big things that got me out of a pretty serious depression was when I entered into, I've apprenticed different paths in my life. So I've apprenticed a few different shamanic paths and a few different martial art paths. One of the shamanic paths that I apprenticed had a lot of social activities, like sweat lodges and ceremonies that we would do together as a group. And they were ceremonies that really were getting to the meat of what our issues were, what our pain was, what our challenges were. And it really helped me to meet the power of the depression, the power of the ennui, the not feeling inspired by this matrix reality, with something sacred. And that's why I say it's so important to find a sacred path, a path with heart, a lineage that can take your soul and that can alchemize this stuff into your sacred warrior spirit, because it takes a warrior spirit to live this life. You know, this is not easy to be incarnated here, you know, and it's not easy to live amongst what we live amongst. And if you don't have that warrior spirit, you can break. So don't give up. Feed the warrior spirit. Feed the sacred warrior spirit. And when I talk about the sacred warrior, I mean the warrior spirit that stands for the feminine. And the feminine is the earth, the creatures of the earth, the elements, the children, the innocence, the children's fire, which is the innocence of each one of us, the inspiration, that it's the fire of God, the fire of Creator in each one of us. That's the children's fire. So we need to feed that rather than extinguish that. And many things in our world extinguish that.
Especially when you're looking at directly with the deep state and the cabal, right? I mean, this is the thing that they're, especially the children, I mean,
literally that they're doing,
going
right?
after it.
With the vaccinations and the programming in the schools, and for instance in California, you cannot put your child in school unless your child is vaccinated. And when I was in school, nobody was autistic. I didn't even know what that was. I mean, nobody was autistic in my school. And now it's like everybody's on the autistic spectrum somewhere. And why is that? And then you don't think that the poisons in the food and the poisons in the air and the poisons in these things you're injecting right in you don't think that that has anything to do with it. Because people can't imagine that there's such a sinister force on this planet that would actually intentionally do any of this to us.
Yeah, there was a woman at Cosmic Waves who her journey of red pilling started from her son actually becoming autistic all of a sudden. And she had narrowed it down to it being the vaccinations that had done it, and she started researching, and then it just blew open all of these rabbit holes that she started going down, and it was like, of course, who do you talk to? What do you do, right? I mean,
and that's when you find people like us, who have gone down the rabbit hole, because there's usually an initiatory illness. So that's a very common theme in shamanism. That's why I was attracted to shamanism initially, because not only were these an entire race of people that were validating the spirit world that I was experiencing. You know, nobody in my Western culture really had that as part of the life experience. But then they also validated these initiatory experiences that led you to your sacred path. And so for many of us, it's going to be a problem that we have to find the solution to. That's going to it's going to break open the bubble, and then you're gonna go, oh my gosh, whoa, what's happening over there? Why are they doing this? That's crazy, that's sinister. What's all that about? And then you've listened to David Wilcock and you're like, oh my God, it's the cabal and it's the reptilians and it's the, and then you're like, well, what do I do now? And that's what I stand for more. It's the well, what do I do? Become a sacred warrior, own your power, tune into it, find your path of heart, find your path of sacredness, and stick close to Creator, because we're all going back there. Don't forget about Creator. We came from Creator and we're going to go back, and Creator is the source of everything here. So, for whatever reason, the classroom that we're all living in has this powerful storyline of wanting to distract us all from who we truly are, and also wanting to poison us literally. So we just have to recognize that okay, that element is there. And for a lot of people, that's the awakening, to realize that element is there, and then it's like, what now? So.
Yeah. And I think something you said a little while ago, and you were talking about how you really have to become broken going through, what we go through. And I think that's so important, even for my own journey. I mean, I had a very just difficult time going, because I had all these experiences as a kid from, seeing things in other dimensions, and just knowing that there is this divine aspect to a lot of things, and then coming in my teens just doubting and everything, and just really having an extremely difficult time. And I think all of us, again, have gone through this. But now, after being where I am, I treasure that difficult time so much, because without that, I realized I couldn't become who I am today. And I think it's so important for people, even right now, going through a difficult time, that if we can remain positive, that people can get through these difficult times and look back and then, as you're saying, become this kind of sacred warrior that we're meant to be.
There's a sacredness to the brokenness, and I feel that it's actually a part of the story of the hero's journey. Because it's also like the butterfly that, the butterfly, when it's in its cocoon and it's ready to come out, it has to struggle and struggle and struggle. And if it doesn't do that, well, anyway, so the struggle pushes all of the fluids out to the wings. And so that's how the fluid becomes these wings. And if the larva of the butterfly doesn't struggle, then it's this big thing with little teeny wings, So it's almost like the greater the struggle, the bigger the wings are.
Wow. That's amazing.
It really is.
And so, this is part of the story. This is part of the archetypal journey that we're all a part of. So a big part of the hero's journey that we've all signed up for here in Classroom Earth is that you're going to have character flaws. They're going to be pretty major. They're going to be unique unto you. And then you're going to have to overcome those character flaws. So there's a sacredness to the brokenness. And so what I always just say is just honor it, because there's a light in there. There's a light, there's a beacon to your home. And if you have been identified with a part of the illusion that is really kind of surface, then that broken, you have to break away from it. So that always is difficult. It was very hard for me to have to say to my parents, who wanted me to complete college and be something, it was really hard to tell them I'm quitting college. My father was a successful banker. My mother was a successful, nurse practitioner. So they were successful, in a time when that meant something. But to me, I saw that as that'll kill me. That whatever that is, sitting under fluorescent lights from 9 to 5 in a building will kill me.
Wait a minute, Ben and I do that right now. I'm just kidding.
These aren't fluorescent, at least,
We do it for them.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, there is. Well, when you're attached to something, so now you're in your soul work, your kuleana, your sacred mission. You can sacrifice certain comforts in order to feed. What you're doing is you're feeding people with something that they need to be fed with. There's a soul nourishment that you're giving people, and it's moving through you. And probably a lot of people are really refreshed and need this that's coming from you guys. So you're like a sacred portal. You have sacrificed certain things to hold this gateway open, to let this information flow through you to the people.
But Elizabeth, we could probably feed people from Hawaii.
You can. You can move
should
to Hawaii.
probably do that.
You can move to Hawaii and do it. You like Hawaii?
I love Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hawaii is amazing.
It's an amazing place.
It is gorgeous. The frogs are wonderful.
Yeah.
Except for the roosters.
Yeah.
The roosters here are like squirrels, people. I mean,
They're wild
they're out
roosters.
at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Right out the window.
It's over. You're up.
Somebody could open a chicken shop.
Yeah.
They definitely could.
Yeah, we'll call it the Kentucky Blue Chicken.
Yeah, there you go. The blue chicken shop.
We'll have the founder be Corey.
That's right. That's really good. Kentucky fried blue chicken. We'll just have to cut all that out.
That one's for you, Corey.
Yeah.
You would laugh so hard that.
So anyway, yeah, that's the having problems is a part of it. None of us would have gotten our wings if it weren't for our problems. Because they lead us to the sources of healing and the sources of wisdom, and so you follow it. you follow where that takes you.
You have 5 black belts?
Yes.
Like, this is amazing.
She's my hero, and I kind of want her to kick my ass after this video.
Guys do like to try to fight me.
Yeah.
It's okay, I'll wrestle you.
Yeah. No, she'd obliterate me. It'd be great.
That'll be fun.
We got to just get it on camera so everyone can see Elizabeth Wilcock take me out.